Regressor of the Fallen Family, Chapter 9. No matter how small the Grandia Kingdom may be, traveling from the southwestern tip of the McLean territory to Logan's first destination, the western edge of the Kyle territory, would take 3 to 4 days on a swift horse without rest. Therefore, it was essential to spend a few nights on the road. Click. At Logan's gesture, the Force momentarily released heat, kindling a fire on the campfire. While he couldn't manipulate multiple elements like a mage, he could still generate a momentary heat. Of course, this was a trick that had become possible only after the creation of the Force Core. Yes, the future has already changed. I can do this. Crackle, crackle. Using the sound of the burning fire as a lullaby and the starlight blanketing the night sky as his blanket, Logan lay down on a makeshift bed of gathered leaves. Sleeping outside was a new experience in this life, but in his past life it had been a familiar routine. Moreover, the current conditions were quite comfortable compared to his previous existence. When you think about it, this era of the kingdom does have its good points, at least in terms of public safety. Even in neighboring empires, bandit groups that included Force users were common, but such occurrences were almost unheard of in this country. This was the result of the traditional culture, which held knights in high esteem, and the nobles' desire for strong control over them. Now far beyond the level of an ordinary low-ranking knight, Logan didn't have to worry about his safety, at least when traveling along the main roads. Amateur bandits wouldn't dare approach upon seeing the noble crest engraved on Logan's armor. But even if his body was at ease, his mind couldn't afford to be. This is no time to be lost in sentimentality. Let's focus. First, the issues with the territory. The McLean clan's financial dependence on the Kairos family, the in-laws of the head of the family, exceeded 70%. Even if he invested all 3 million gold he obtained from breaking off the engagement to pay off debts, without the Kairos' support, it would be impossible to sustain the territory. The problem was that given the current state of the McLean territory, finding a fundamental solution was difficult. So the goal is to achieve financial independence and increase the military forces of the territory, Damn it. 200 years earlier, the McLean clan had been a noble count family, encompassing vast territories, including the baronies of Teslan and the neighboring region, the Sylvan barony to the northwest of Teslan, the Ferretta barony to its south, and even the vast Bifrost plains. As the ruler of the southwestern region of the Grandia Kingdom, they were revered as lords. However, starting with Logan's great-great-grandfather to the current head of the family, Patrick McLean, 3 generations of ancestors had diminished the family's title and lands through foolish and tyrannical rule. Their vassals had become independent, achieving equal or higher status. There had been talks of the family's titles being revoked, and if Patrick McLean hadn't become a high-grade knight, the title would have indeed been lost. But even that was a remedy that had come far too late. The granary of the kingdom, once known as McLean Plains, had fallen into the hands of the most powerful vassal. Other useful lands had been divided among other vassals, and the McLean clan had been relegated to a harsh and barren plot of land near the southern mountains. Though initially an ancestral seat, after becoming a count, the land's primary function had been as a fortress to ward off monsters descending from the mountains. With no notable specialty products and even lacking a common copper mine found in most territories near high mountains, maintaining a military force to fend off occasional monster incursions was financially challenging. In short, without the support of the Kairos household, the McLean clan could hardly maintain its current state. Even if we win the territorial war, we'll have to reach out to Kairos again. To break this vicious cycle, Logan needed a considerable sum of money, far more than what he currently possessed. With no special products to offer, he planned to entrust the money to someone capable. Logan knew of a person whose abilities and creditworthiness would be proven in the future. A consistent source of income for the family must be established. Logan's primary objectives for visiting Kyle, the kingdom's largest trade city, were to seek out a person and undertake a particular task. Since he could always make the request, finding the person first seemed best. Moreover, looking for someone in this city meant visiting this particular tavern. The greatest empire on the continent, the Ares Empire, a powerful, centralized government and a nation of meritocracy where anyone with ability, regardless of age or gender, could become an official and enjoy power and wealth. Even foreigners not born in the empire were eligible for these opportunities. A prime example was Philip Claude, a Grandia Kingdom native, who ranked among the empire's top 10 merchants and was nicknamed the Golden Bug. He was one of the empire's influential merchants and was called a traitor by his compatriots from Grandia for his actions. Despite the criticisms, he supported his homeland's refugees and ultimately used his wealth and power to create the autonomous region of Grandia. and he also provided secret financial support to our independence movement. Logan knew that Philip's hometown was Cahill in the Grandia Kingdom and remembered clearly that his ability and credibility as a merchant were impeccable across the continent. Could it really be that guy? Logan approached the young man with a muddled head. Damn it, what to do now that? Philip raised his head to prevent tears that seemed imminent at the thought of his own helplessness. The outside sky was clear, but it only seemed to heighten his sense of gloom. Stories of merchant houses collapsing overnight due to scams were not uncommon, but he never imagined that he would be the protagonist of such a tale. He felt as if he was alone in a different world. Maybe I should just die? After mulling over the same thought for the past month, Philip scoffed and lowered his head again. If he actually had the courage to die, he would have done so already. He was a coward, lacking even the courage to end his life. Thinking about wandering aimlessly to escape the suffocating feeling, his despair paralyzed him so much that he couldn't muster the strength to stand. Excuse me, are you Sir Philip Claude by any chance? An unfamiliar voice reached Philip's ears. Looking up, he saw a young man with remarkable red hair and red eyes. The intense, desperate gaze in those red eyes was memorable, despite the dirtied half-plate armor and greaves. Yes, that's me, but who might you be? As Philip nodded, the intensity of the gaze magnified. Oh, indeed, you do have the impressive eyes I've heard about. Complimenting Philip's unusual gray eyes, the red-haired youth smiled warmly and moved even closer. Instinctively, Philip took a step back. The determination in the young man's face was something Philip, a merchant, had seen countless times. It was greed. An unfamiliar face displaying such emotion stoked fearful imaginings in Philip's mind. It was clear that even by selling his last small commercial building, he couldn't repay his debts, leading to his inevitable slavery. He had anticipated becoming a slave, but the gray eyes are unusual. They'll fetch a higher price, you know. The words of the loan sharks he had inadvertently heard echoed in his mind, sending shivers down his spine. The timing of this figure's appearance, and now that he thought of it, the state of his old equipment, were all characteristic of a mercenary thug. Could it be? Philip inwardly prayed that it wasn't so. The thought of his last shred of human dignity being degraded filled him with dread. Subconsciously, he adjusted his torn clothes and shrank back. The red eyes seemed to rove over his body, raising goosebumps. What do you want? The repayment date has not yet arrived, has it? Come back after the sale proceeds from the shop come in 3 days. Oh, I'm not here to collect a debt, but I won't do that kind of work, even if I become a slave. Absolutely not. Excuse me? I'm literate. I have knowledge of the commercial world. Even as a slave, I can be useful elsewhere. I absolutely won't do that kind of work. What are you talking about? Anyhow, the sale proceeds have not yet come in. Please go away. As Philip gestured frantically and yelled, the young man in front of him gave a wry smile and shook his head. I'm not here to collect money. I'm here to invest. Excuse me? Philip's confusion couldn't be more apparent. Are you talking to me? Yes. To this failed business? Yes. That's why it should be easy to invest. His confident stance and self-assured smile struck a very different chord this time. Finally, Philip understood the situation properly. He's just a madman.